Hey guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock, and yes, Kizzy Rock is my birth given name. Happy second recording on this Thursday. Want to say hey to all my subscribers, new as well as seasoned. I got a word for you. Tap in. Really quickly, guys, I had someone emailed me this morning, and they're going through a transformational season. And the one thing that they're struggling with the most is boundaries. So she was telling me that she heard one of my recordings in how I spoke so firmly about boundaries. And she admired how I'm able to put boundaries in place and stick to them. So I had to be transparent with her. I had to have a transparent moment to tell her that boundaries is probably one of the most hardest things. Definitely the top 3 things that I had to learn to do. And again, if I'm not honest, sometimes I'll struggle back and forth. But conviction is what gets me to really stay firm with boundaries. If I had to set and keep boundaries in place just from flesh alone, if I'm honest, I don't know if I would even be able to do it. Also, it's a process, right? And I think that I'll speak for myself. I can't speak for everyone, but I'll speak for myself, and then even a few people that I know who we talk about boundaries a lot. If you're not a person who's been able to really set boundaries and keep them in place, and you still struggle with that, you just haven't got burnt enough yet. And I said this earlier, I think this morning on my recording, it's almost like you start making changes once you've really had enough. You can be physically tired, but until your soul is tired of something, you will still tolerate it. Once your soul is tired, then you will start making the necessary changes. So again, people, empaths, big hearts, servers, individuals who are responsible for others at a very, very young age. So you were responsible for others even though you were a child, and so on. People like this will have a very difficult time putting up boundaries because, for one, if you've been taking care of people all your life, that's your default setting. You should not have been taking care of people as an adult, but you were. For whatever reason, that's your default setting. And then there's a good chance that you're the person who also puts yourself last. You still take care of people. That can be people in your adult life. You still take care of people and put yourself last because you still haven't really rewired your brain to understand that you come first. If you're not good, nobody else is good. You come first. Choose self. But that's not easy. So I wish I could snap a finger and say, hey, I decided one day that I want to put boundaries up and I'm going to stick to it. And I just snap a finger and the next day I was fine. No, I'm talking about years. Years of setting and failing. But then I had to ask God to step in. And this is why I do make a lot of recordings on transparency to say, go to your source. Because most of these things that we're trying to do, we just can't do these things on our own. It's like you have to ask God to step in. So if you're struggling with any area in your life, in your quiet time when you're connected, ask God to step in. Ask Him to give you grace. Ask Him to give you direction in that area, because He may give you a specific download and route that is the complete opposite of what He gave me. So for me now is much more easy, because when He requires me to set the boundary, He's told me why and He's been firm. So regardless of what my heart wants to do, I know I have to be obedient to whatever He tells me to do in regards to setting that boundary and sticking to that boundary. But what makes it easier now is He'll show me why. And many times it's because, again, people are selfish, so people will either try to take advantage of you. People will not do for you what you do for them. So because God sees all, He will let you know, no, don't help. You're not going to help this person. So there's different reasons on why God will tell you to put boundaries up and stop helping people. For one, you're paralyzing grown people. So when can they ever find God? Because you're playing God for them. If you're doing everything for your whoever, your adult children, your family, your friends, or whoever, if you're doing every single thing for these adults, when can they ever find God when you're playing God? You're doing everything for them. You're playing God for them. They look to you for all the answers. So essentially, we didn't even realize people are idolizing us and things like that, and they're coming to us and they think like we're God. No, I'm not God. I can point you into a particular direction. I can give you some words of advice, but I can't give you your answer on how you need to do it. Ask God, and He will show you. But boundaries is crucial. Again, you may set them and you may fail at them for quite some time. It's a process. But once you start to realize the difference in your life, you will be so annoyed with yourself that you didn't put boundaries up before. Your life is now peaceful. Because remember, before you had boundaries, everybody and their mama will call you for whatever reason. For whatever reason. And you're letting everything about yourself, your health, everything about you gets the back seat because you're running around playing Superman for everybody else. So when God is ready for you to really start getting serious about boundaries, He's going to keep letting these people hurt your feelings and broke your heart. He's going to expose to you what people's really doing. You're helping them and they're taking advantage of you. You're helping them and now you're in need. You can't even find them, right? He's going to start allowing your heart to break. When your heart starts to break, and it will break because sadly it will be the people closest to you who will use you and take advantage of you, and you can't find them when you're in need. So again, one thing I've learned is that God don't care about our emotions when it comes down to transformation. If you sit down and take an inventory of your life, why are you so stressed out? I'm sure work is involved in there. I'm sure maybe your children, things like that is involved in there. But if you really take an inventory of your life, are there people in your life who are adults? Are there anybody that they call you all the time for advice and you give them advice? You tell them what to do, they don't do it, and then they call you back the next day complaining about the same issue. And then when you ask them, hey, have you tried my advice? Well, no. Okay, so why are you calling me again? Because at this point, you're disrespecting me. But we don't see it like that prior to boundaries. We see it as helping others. Even though it's the same person with the same issues over and over and over again. When you're healed, that's disrespect. Why? Because when you're healed, you know the importance of time. And you know how to not allow others to use your time, for others to waste your time. So that's the difference between unhealed and healed. When you're unhealed, you got all the time in the world to let people play with you, waste your time, disrespect you, use you left to right, won't even help themselves, but they're constantly pulling from you. They're pulling from you for their benefit, and they're also pulling from you to help others who they've taken on the responsibility for. So not only are you trying to use somebody for yourself, which is selfish enough, you are trying to use somebody for yourself and every other person attached to you who refuse to get up and do something with their lives. If that is not disrespect, what is that? But we can't see that and we can't even acknowledge it as disrespect when we're unhealed. This is why when you're healed, you don't have a lot of the same people around you. It's not so much that you cut people off. Some people you will cut off, but the majority of people fall off. They fall off because boundaries. They can no longer use you in whatever way, however they were using you, they can no longer use you. Again, that cliche, blood is thick in the water, this will have a lot of people right here tied up in the merry-go-round. Tied up in the merry-go-round because you're taught that blood is thick in the water. You never leave. You always help family, regardless of how toxic family is, regardless of what they... And you're the only one in the family being drained. You're the only one in the family, nobody calls and check on you. You're the only one in the family that you can't go to for help. How is that healthy? This is why we're sick so much in our community. This is why we're dying from stress. Even our with black men, like heart disease, all this stuff is coming from stress, coming from not having boundaries up, coming from being unhealed, come from sweeping generational secrets under the rug. So again, this is why a lot of times you're pulled away. You're pulled away and you're isolated so you can see that there's another side, and the other side is peaceful. So if you're still in that mindset where you can't leave people behind, you're struggling to walk away for whatever reason. You know people are mistreating you. You know people are using you. You know people are manipulating you. Reverse psychology. Constantly pulling from you even though you're burnt out. Be gentle with yourself to know that this is not something that would happen overnight. So when you have people to say to you, just leave. You're just stupid. Just leave. When people say things like that to you, don't take that personal because they're looking from the outside in, right? Be gentle enough with yourself to accept the fact that it's beautiful that you now acknowledge that you need to start putting boundaries up, that you need to get away from toxic people because it's now affecting your health. Okay, great. Because guess what? Most people don't even get to a point where they're able to acknowledge it. Once you acknowledge something, then that starts the process to healing. How can you ever heal something that you can never even acknowledge? So I always tell people, celebrate your small victories. Celebrate the fact that you now acknowledge that you no longer want a part of this unhealed, crazy lifestyle, right? Okay. You've acknowledged it. That's where God needs you. Because people are in denial. Stop beating yourself up about age. I think it's you in your 30s. Do you know how many people right now is in their 80s and still living that toxic life? Never knew that there was an other side, which is healing. Do you know how many people are now in their grave and never, ever knew that they could be healed? So don't beat yourself up. This is the start of a new beginning for you. So now you know it. So now that you know it, now you ask God. You have to ask Him. Ask Him to step in, to help you, to show you what to do. Now, listen. Listen, sis. Right? Because y'all know I'm a realist. I keep it real. I tell you the truth. Yes, I'm telling you this, right? But sometimes when you tell people things, they think it go from today till tomorrow. Because again, most people don't really talk about process. I'm a person who talks about, I speak more about process than anything because a lot of people skip over the process. So when you ask God to step in, this is why I always say you got to be ready. If you ain't ready yet, please don't ask until you're ready. Because when you ask Him to step in, mind you, you're asking Him to help you put boundaries in place. You're asking Him to help you start a healing process. So what does that mean? He can't heal you in the environment that traumatized you. So the majority of people will fall off. How they fall off, you can't control that narrative. It's going to be heavy. It's going to be heavy. Because it's not like they're just going to drop off and just say, hey, one day, okay, I'm just not going to call you anymore. No. It's going to be strife. It's going to be that. It's going to be this. It's going to be heartbreak. It's going to be grieving. Healing is hard. But it's worth it. So again, you ask God to step in. He will show you exactly the route to take. He will start giving you downloads on who to walk away from. Some of these people you're not going to want to walk away from. But because you ask him to step in, and when he chooses or give you a download on that person, you're like, no, not that one. And then you say, never mind. There's no never mind. You've asked him to step in. So now because you refuse to move this person, he'll remove them for you. He will remove them from you. And that ain't gonna feel good at all. If you got the ball, bounce the ball while you got it. Because if you don't bounce the ball, he'll make them leave you. They'll steal your ball and go home. And it's gonna be worse. Why do these people start falling off? Because you gotta go in isolation. Why isolation? Because you need to understand why you even allow this type of behavior. Let it be from childhood traumas, conditioning, generational curses, whatever. But all that stuff will be exposed. You can't hear it now because you're a noise, which is distractions. So as much as everybody cry about being in isolation because they're lonely, it's supposed to be. It's designed for you to be able to get all your downloads, and that's why you have no distractions. You may not even have a job. Sometimes your job is gone. Listen, get your edge growth because you're going to need it. And as long as you submit to isolation, as I always say, as long as you submit to it, then you will shorten your process. If you fight against it, you're going to be in there longer. After isolation, transformation. Transformation is when you'll start putting out boundaries freely and easily. Why? Because now you love yourself. Isolation taught you and showed you people's true motives and faces for who they really are. The one hurtful thing about transformation season, well, there's many hurtful things, but one thing that's really hurtful that a lot of people don't talk about is you see things for what it truly is. Where prior, you're distracted. You're all over the place. So you're just kind of going, like in this hurricane of a tornado, of like a whirlwind. So you're just going. But when you sit and God shows you the people who are sometimes the most closest to you, show you their true motives and intentions, it will break your heart. But you gotta let your heart break. That's why it will now be more easy to put boundaries in place after the healing process. Because you finally decided to choose you. You're worth it. You deserve it. And congrats, because again, many people never even make it to a healing season because they don't even know that anything is wrong. So sis, keep moving. The best is yet to come. It's your season, sis. It's your season. And I can't wait to hear your testimony. It's your girl, Kizzy Rock.